All right, FHF, it's AC cooling that heat. Today we got a guest. He's landscaping, got a business with it. We got Justin.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you guys.
You mind giving us a little bit about yourself to the viewers out there?
Well, started a landscape business about 7 years ago. I worked for another landscape designer for probably like 5 to 7 years, and then kind of branched out from there after I knew what I was doing and kind of started small and worked my way up.
Was there like any mentors during that business to help you push to this direction?
Not so much on the business side, but the quality side when I was working for somebody else.
Sorry about that, guys. Of course, the camera cut off like usual. Still trying to figure out what's wrong with the camera. So if anyone could give us advice about the cameras, let us know. But before we got interrupted, Justin here was explaining that he didn't have any mentors getting into his own business. So do you mind expanding about that, what you were saying, Justin? Sorry about that.
Yeah. I guess after I had basically mentors that kind of teach me how, the ropes of landscape and gardening.
Right.
And it was a high-end place, so we really focused on quality.
Mm-hmm.
And later I got a job with it was an app-based company in Seattle that's no longer here. I think they were called Neighborly. And there was a landscaping section, and I was basically hired to run the landscape part. So that's kind of where I learned the business side. And
gotcha.
I learned I can do this myself and do the landscape part. And then,
you get majority of the money too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm basically these other people are taking the cut for doing something that I could easily do.
Right, yourself.
And they need me to do the actual work and to have the knowledge of the work done. So, and then that company actually sold to some other company bought it. And I had the opportunity to go with them, but they were kind of scaling down the landscape part of it to kind of just like mowing and stuff like that.
Okay.
I didn't want to do it, and they actually offered me to offered the customers that we had so that I can take that and kind of start my own business. So I was actually able to bring a few of those customers over into that.
So when come to landscaping, how many people does it usually take to like do the business besides yourself running it?
Well, when I started out, it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
And I, just did smaller jobs that I could handle by myself.
Right.
I mean, when I first started, I didn't even have a truck. I had like a Honda Civic, and I had some tools, and I knew how to do. A lot of it was kind of fine gardening. So, a lot of plant knowledge helps. Like, you can mow a lawn and stuff, but you can't really make that much money doing that, unless you're doing a lot of them, which you need different equipment if you want to make it easier.
Mm. What about investing into better equipments and getting a truck?
Yeah, with time, I have invested in that and kind of built up from there. When I first started, I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing, and I just knew that I needed to make this much money per month to pay my bills.
Right.
And if I can make if I can make that, then I can work for myself.
Right.
And it worked out.
Did you have a money goal or something like that for you to reach in order to do this investment or?
Yeah, I mean, it started with just the goal of paying the bills.
Paying the bills first.
And then that went pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
I was able to do that, and then I got more customers, and then word of mouth gets out there. I kind of tried to experiment with advertising, trying to get out there like on Craigslist and stuff, which was hit or miss.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing those like Facebook or YouTube advertisement ads?
I have.
You got your son. He's a good editor / cameraman, so he can do like a quick little, film for you, and then post it on, Facebook advertisement. Or I don't know what type of other like TikTok advertisement or something like that.
I have thought about it, and like at this point, I've been doing this for 7 years, and I have built up the business, and I'm able to kind of scale it back because we do hardscape installations too, which is a big thing. And it's more than one person. You're doing like installing driveways, driveways, and all kinds of stuff. So you need more people. But as for right now, I, bring in enough income to pay for the year and pay to have another person. If I was to advertise on a bigger scale and bring in more, it's just, you're going to have to hire more people, and then you need to make sure that you have hours for those people and they're happy. And so that's kind of the next step, is like scaling up. Is I basically have to step out of doing the actual work and just kind of oversee the business. Like I need to hire somebody that has the plant knowledge and everything that can take over, and then I can just work on building it up from there. Right. But that's kind of a big step also. Yeah. Because then I don't have my hands on all the work, and
What do you say is like step by step when it comes to that situation? Or do you plan to do upscale?
Yeah, I kind of plan it. I always have so many things going on too that it's kind of hard to. Right. The more you plan something out, the more it's going to get done, and the easier it is, and the less overwhelming. Like, just in general. I mean, even with our projects, when we have a big project, I like to list everything out. All the materials and everything, so you have something that you can look at and you know where you're at, and you can check it off. I would probably do the same thing if we scale up and grow the business a little bit more. I'll have to put a plan together. What advice could you give out there to those who want to be an entrepreneur as well and growing their business as well? I mean, you want to do a really good job. You want good quality, depending on what the business is. If the business is something that has to do with speed, then you want to be fast. You want to have good customer service. That goes a long ways.
That does, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Working in the restaurant industry, knowing to have good customer service is the most thing that you need to have.
Yeah. I think people that have, like, I've worked in the restaurant industry. Right. And I worked with coffee, and so I have many years of customer experience, and you always want somebody to leave like happy, right? Yeah. Like, even if you don't want them to be happy. Exactly. You want to kill them with kindness.
So that way they'll come back.
Yeah.
Get a fat tip.
And that's how they tell their friends, right? That's how a lot of my business happens, is just word of mouth. So, like, word of mouth, like, being a good person, going that extra mile, like anybody that has a successful business, you'll probably see them, they're the person that's out there talking and trying to, make everyone happy.
That's fair. When it comes to advertisement, sorry, I'm trying to go back to the advertisement section. So when I was trying to do advertisement for this channel, it's mostly just like me trying to do word of mouth too as well. Just like, I guess, putting it on social media. Hopefully, like, my friends or family will spread the word. Yeah. But they don't tend to do that. So what advice would you give me to do a better, I guess, word of mouth out there for myself and for Thomas in this channel?
I I guess incentives
Right.
might work with some people.
Mhm.
I have a similar thing with getting people to give me ratings or whatever, like star ratings on Google or whatever.
Oh,
Like
you have a Google account?
Yeah, I'm
Gotcha.
verified through Google, and yeah, some of my customers that I'm most friendly with, I will ask them like, "Oh, can you give me a rating so we can like boost it up a little bit?" And it just never,
It never works.
never works. But I feel like if I don't know, if I figured some kind of incentive, like.
So our idea was that this isn't just an example, guys, so don't hold me quotable on this. So like our idea was first to do like, oh, if we reach 200 subscribers, we'll give out like $100 gift card.
Yeah.
How do you think would that work for us?
I think that could work. I also think from just what I've seen, some people do that are good at getting people to get involved.
Yeah.
Is you have to just be on it like a car salesman or something, or salesperson. Like you just need to, be hounding them like constantly, like trying to get them, catch them in a moment like where like, hey, like open up your phone really quick. Like, let's do this right now.
Oh,
like it's some work, but like that person can spread that, and then maybe somebody else will see it. You know what I mean? It kind of branches off, but sometimes you have to be a little pushy.
Yeah. Well, eventually, I hope to own my own business as well. So I guess I'm trying to find ways to promote things in general, just not just because of this podcast, just for my future references.
Yeah.
Eventually, I would probably want to own a restaurant myself. Trying to figure out how to promote a business from that. Working at the restaurant I am working right now, like all I see them do is advertise on Instagram and stuff like that, showing like quality food and stuff.
Yeah.
And what I notice a lot is that having good reviews, like you were talking about, like ratings on Google and stuff like that, like that usually catches people's attention.
Yeah.
I'm sure it catches all of our attention personally too, because when we go to a restaurant, we expect to have like a 4.5 ratings or something like that.
Yeah.
Like personally for me, I wouldn't want to go to a 3-star restaurant or something like that.
Yeah.
Because maybe the food quality isn't as good and customer service as well.
Yeah.
What other ways do you think you can promote your business besides advertisement and word?
Well, I mean, yeah, the word of mouth goes a long ways. One thing that we haven't done is logos on the truck. That would be a big one. That would be a big one, but at the same time, like I haven't had to do anything like that to get more work. A lot of times it's it comes down to like sometimes we'll have too much work and then I need to hire another person, but only hire them temporary because it's like we might not have this work, especially through winter, But like, advertising through, logos on the truck or T-shirts. I thought about making some shirts, but I've been kind of held up on like the design of what it,
That's fair.
And it shouldn't be that big of I guess I just need to like.
I mean, it's
sit down and
I think it's whatever you like. It's your business and your design, and that's what's gonna be brought towards everyone's attention. So I feel like what you're doing is perfect. Want to sit down and do it right in your way. Yeah. So I know that you're into skateboarding. Have you got any clientele from that as well, or connections?
Mostly I've had people work for me through skateboarding.
Oh, okay.
So I have a wide network of.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
And in the skateboard world, I'm old. I'm 42. So, there's still like people that I skate with that are in their 50s and stuff that own homes and stuff. But
they're the OGs of it.
A lot of them are younger, and so like if they need some work or whatever, they'll come. I'll offer them some work.
Have you ever tried one of those temp workers app where they just want to temp work and not like do full-time work?
I haven't tried any of the apps. There was one, I can't even remember the name, but it seemed, what was the name? I don't remember the name, but I've got temp workers like through Craigslist.
Oh, okay.
And that can be hit or miss.
Is it
It's kind of wild sometimes.
like not reliable, and you got some?
You just have to be ready for what you get, and you kind of want to figure out some good filters,
Right.
to get out, because I've had weird situations where somebody's talking on the phone for somebody else, or whatever, and then they show up and it's two people.
Yeah.
It's like a boyfriend-girlfriend duo or something. You're like, well, I was only trying to hire one person for the day. Like, what's going on? And in this situation, it worked out, but it was kind of, I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
what
they came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Expecting double the pay.
Yeah. And, yeah, and there were some other people that kind of worked out, and,
Right. What are I'm trying to find the perfect wording for this. What are the tough areas that you were hitting when growing this business? And what are like some blockage for you that you had to get over?
The tough thing is, especially when you're by yourself, is just staying motivated, because it's, physical labor. Like,
right.
You're moving, and it's not always like hard, but you're always like pushing
also,
forward.
Let's talk about physical labor. Like, how are you doing that? Like, as your job? That's how are you able to keep up your body to keep up the work that you're doing?
Well, I mean, I don't drink alcohol, so I never. That's the problem that I have had hiring some people is, sometimes they feel like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just pardon my language. Feel hungover or whatever. I don't drink. I try to stay somewhat healthy,
Yeah.
Also, just like the movements and things you do, you try to, kind of watch how you're bending down or picking things up. You want to do things properly and do things smarter. Like when you can use a tool to make a job easier on your back or something, you try to do that versus just, we don't have time for that. And just like lifting it up really quick and hurting yourself, or, just to do something a few seconds quicker.
Have you ever had a time where you actually like injured yourself where you couldn't work for a certain amount of days?
I have, and it wasn't ever from the work.
Oh, okay.
I have had injuries where I couldn't work, and then I really had to rely on the people working.
What about like being sore? Like, how are you able to like, gather yourself back and then be able to work through?
Maybe a second cup of coffee sometimes.
That's fair.
On a hard day.
Sometimes, yeah, you kind of have to know how to push yourself mentally through hard parts. Like I look at it like, I don't know if you guys have ever like done like a marathon or a 100-mile bike ride.
No, never done.
There's always, you're doing that kind of stuff for a long time, and there's always a point where you just feel miserable.
Right.
And you're just in your head like, I can't do this. What was I thinking? Like, why did I do this? But you just keep, pushing through, like whether you're just like one step, from the other, and then, before you know it, you're at the end of it.
That's fair, yeah.
A day of work could be like that. Like if it's really bad, you're just like it could be raining sideways and you feel crappy.
Yeah.
But you're trying to get this job done. The house is going on the market like the next few days, and they're taking pictures or something, and it has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
That was recent too.
Yeah, this happens a lot actually, but you just have to get it done. And like for me, like being in charge, that's how I think of it. And it's hard sometimes too when you have other people working too, and they don't have the same mentality because it's not their business. They're just, miserable, and it's harder for them to look at. So
they're just there for the money.
Yeah. And I get it. It's hard to keep everybody motivated.
Right.
And also, it's hard to not let that kind of bring you down and just
Exactly.
say like, forget it, like we can't. This is too much. I try never to like be defeated by any jobs.
Right. Which is great. I mean, you got, like you said, you got to keep that strong mindset and just push forward. And then, you know, that will get over with, and then you got your next day going on.
Yeah.
I mean, personally for me, I go to the gym like every morning.
Yeah.
And I try to push forward because I'm like super tired, and I'm like, damn, I have to go to work after this too. I'm like, I don't know, like, but I was like, in order for me to stay healthy and, you know, motivated and ongoing, like, I was like, I have to go to the gym, and I have to go to work to get money.
Yep.
And then, you know, and I have to go home and rest, and then hopefully, you know, I have a better day the next day and recovery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I definitely know what you mean about pushing forward. Well, even this podcast too, you know, like even on my day off, I'm trying to push forward to do this podcast, and trying to hopefully gain something out of it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I appreciate everyone that's watching our shorts, by the way. We're getting a lot of views and attention from it. We just need our videos to get the same amount of love. Yeah. The previous short that I saw that we gained a lot of views was 800 views.
Oh, it was the dub one.
Yeah, it was a dub pie.
Weight loss journey.
Yeah, that was a great short.
Yeah.
But what advice, you know, would you give to motivate, you know, your crew and to, you know, have them push forward along their day as well?
Well, it all kind of depends on the person.
Mm-hmm. Right, of course.
You know, sometimes, you know, picking up donuts or something. You know, like
I literally had that in my head.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. Like a little food motivation
Yeah.
will bring the spirits up. You know,
No, for sure. Yeah.
like if I have to go pick up materials and there's a Mighty O Donuts right around the corner, I'm like, all right, it's parking. I'm gonna get these, bring them back, and surprise them. Yeah, and there's never a person that's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know. So
you can't reject donuts.
People looking for seconds. Is there seconds in that?
Yeah, and just trying to stay positive, because as soon as I start turning negative, like they're like, yeah,
it's like
we're quitting. Like,
yeah,
forget that.
That's definitely a big thing about staying, you know, positive and having the right set of mind when managing people. Because when I'm working at a restaurant, I'm managing the crew. Like, your mood affects the whole crew, and I kind of see that, like, because sometimes I'm gonna be honest, I'm not 100%, and then I realize that, and I'm like, okay, I need to take a step back, and then be a better example for the crew here.
Yeah, and
it changes, and it motivates the crew as well if you're motivated to work too, even though I'm not working for my personal business, I'm working for someone else's business, but it helps the crew to be motivated as well if you're motivated to work for someone else, I guess.
Yeah, and they you know, that's how you can find your leaders too, is like those ones that when they see that you're having trouble and they kind of take over and they're trying to like bring you back up, you know. Yeah, that's like it can work both ways too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because energy has a big influence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not wrong. I be pounding like coffee every day just to be up there.
Well, there are some days like Thomas can tell you, you know, like I have an Apple Watch and it shows your steps, and like if we have a day where I did like 26,000 steps, I already know just by looking at that, like I'll probably feel a little bit out of it tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't doubt. Yeah, because when I'm working at the restaurant, I'm constantly just like running around, like lifting, like, I mean, not lifting like you guys there, but like I'm lifting like tubs of trays of food and stuff, like, and my feet just like dies at the end of the day. And then I'm just like, how am I gonna recover for the next day? And I have like this patch I always put on my feet just to make myself feel a little better the next day, to just keep myself going.
You gotta pace back and forth.
No, like there's days I just be sweating. It's just gross.
Yeah.
But you're right about the donuts too. Like I remember I bought like 3 dozen like donuts from like Krispy Kreme, brought it to the workers. Everyone's mood's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have a great day and have a
for one of those, yeah.
you think you were. We're like, we're gonna have a successful day and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sometimes even just taking like a quick break. Like I know in the restaurant industry, someone's got to be working at all times, and so you might have to swap out. But like sometimes when things get really difficult for us, or it's been one of those really tough days, we'll just kind of take a break, drink some water, because you'd be surprised when you're sweating and you drink some water, you like feel refreshed again, and kind of like reassess the rest of the day. Like, okay, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
Realistically, we can get here by the end of the day. So this is our goal. If we get above that, great. But we're gonna try to at least meet that.
Speaking about employees, how do you usually handle like tough conversations with like employees? I know you have some temps, and obviously you have some stories about those temps. How do you usually have those hard conversations with some of them employees and the temps?
Well, if you just kind of have to be on people, like you don't let things slide, because then it becomes a habit.
A habit, yeah. What I started to notice was sometimes when you're too kind to some people, they start to take advantage of that and basically let you do all the work while they're just probably doing like the easiest work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You try to be fair and you try to, make the people happy, but in the end, it is work that needs to get done. And, sometimes the people aren't cut out for it, and you find out, and, you have to have that conversation with them to tell them what's expected, I've had had some interesting ones, like friends of mine, people I've known have quit, because sometimes, things happen, and
right.
Yeah.
I mean, working with friends, it's hard to cater within the company and on top of maintaining your friendship.
Ugh. Yeah.
Because
it's a hefty balance.
Well, yeah. Also, I mean, I guess this is a little different for me here, because I have to cater to my bosses and the business. Yeah. And also, like, I'm trying to maintain my friendship with some of these people. And also these friends that I made within the job, too. It's hard to know the boundaries of, management and then friendship sometimes.
Yeah.
What I realized is that explaining, like, certain things help a lot. Like, explain why situations are being what it's being because, of a certain thing.
Yeah.
A lot of what I explain is because I have to tell them the specific things because the bosses want this to be done.
Yeah.
And they always have some type of idea of like, oh, I was like, I get that, but if it was up to us, it'd be different. But, we got to follow along what's implanted from the bosses.
Yeah.
And they seem to understand from that point, because they're like, okay, this is not my company. I'm working for someone. I have to follow whatever within the lines and boundaries and follow along what the boss is saying, because they're paying my, pay and stuff like that. That's what I start to realize. It's just explaining certain things and why, and they kind of get the gist of like, okay.
Yeah.
This is not my company. I gotta do what's, what my job is.
Yeah. We have definitely similar things, like just like, okay, customers don't want you smoking on their property.
Yeah.
So like,
right.
Please don't smoke on their property, or like.
Do you get a lot of those people, like, employees smoking in.
I've had a few. I had one that was, I didn't know him, and I hired him like kind of thinking I was helping him out because he was kind of knew him through some friends, and in the end he kind of ended up taking advantage of the whole situation. But you know, he'd be smoking and like leaving cigarette butts on people's properties.
Yeah,
Like we're there doing maintenance, like
trying to
the
clean
garden
up,
beds and stuff. I'm like, dude, what are you
doing the
Like,
quite
why-
opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you know, and also some things like since we don't have you know, shirts like work shirts with the logo and whatever, in the past I've let people kind of wear whatever, but I've had to talk to people like, hey, that shirt with like the person like pointing a gun at their head, probably don't want to wear that.
You're right.
You know,
Yeah.
they have kids. Like, what do you think that they're, you know, I have to ask them like the
Right.
question, like, now think about this. Like,
Yeah, it's a
you
bigger
think
picture.
you want to explain that to like their kid,
Yeah.
like why you have that shirt or what that means? Because
The
it
kid
might
can
be,
run up and be like, "Oh, what does that shirt mean?"
Yeah. yeah, stuff like that.
That's fair.
And the hiring friends, especially like longtime friends, is harder, you know, because there's that whole power thing where like, you know,
yeah,
you guys are,
That's where it gets.
you guys already might be like, you know, have like a, I don't know, some kind of like
yeah,
agreement on like, you know, whatever, but then all of a sudden like you're their boss,
yeah,
and so you have to kind of figure out how to be their boss without, you know, being too pushy.
Yeah.
Or what, you know what I mean? Like you kind of have to,
exactly.
which it's hard, you know.
What I tend to do now with my friends, what if I'm working with them, is like, hey, can you just help me with that?
Yeah.
I make it seem like less of a demand and be like, hey, can you do help a brother out just by doing this for me?
Yeah.
It tend to work more often than like, hey, I need you to do that right now because it needs to be done or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like, so you know, restaurants like a fast paced service, my restaurant at least. So when it comes to like, we're getting like loads of customers where I have to be kind of short, like, hey, I actually need that to be done. Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
They're more understanding that way. But when it's slow, I guess they don't really like the demanding, like, hey, I need you to do that. It would be like more like, hey, can you help me do this type of thing?
Yeah.
And then probably explain if they want an explanation or stuff.
Yeah.
The explaining part like kills me the most because I'm probably spending like 5 minutes of my time explaining the reason why.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's like I could be doing other things and then I have to explain 5 minutes of what's going on.
Yeah.
What about maintaining employees like to like, you know, keep doing the job that they're supposed to be doing? Because I seem to have a hard time in the past. I'm not gonna name anyone out, but example of this person, they would always be in register and not helping out anywhere else, but they'll just be on their phones or whatever and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How would you handle that situation?
Well, I guess you kind of just have to let the person know like what's expected.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, especially if you have a boss that's like watching you and your job is to keep them doing that, you know, you need to let them know like, you know, look, like I'm going to get in trouble if you're not, you know, doing your, you know, your job. A lot of it is, yeah, just like letting them know like what's expected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That way they don't feel like you're dropping other stuff on top of what's already expected.
Would you say expectations are pretty high? Where you're with your company?
Like expectations as far as
Well, like, you know, like I guess like maintaining like stuff like with like working. I don't know. That's a little confusing question. like, I guess like do you have like expectations before the shift type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I expect.
And then do you lay it out on the employees before they start the shift?
Yeah, a lot of times I'm working with the people like
right.
I haven't. There's been some people that have been able to get started on a job while I do something else, but a lot of times I'm working with them, so it's kind of expected that they're. I don't expect them to like keep pace with me like exact because I've been doing it for a long time, and so I can multitask and get a lot more done in a smaller amount of time. But I do expect them to keep moving forward, and not taking breaks. I've had some workers that were, not very good workers.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like it's every time you go around the corner, you see them like on their phone, like. Like hiding
sneakily.
I'm like, okay, like this person is always out of sight.
Yeah.
Like they're always out of sight. Yeah, and I get it. Like their phones like are always calling us, but I try to set the example. Like you don't see me on my phone.
Yeah.
Like and people sometimes complain because I don't answer my calls until later when I have time.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be before we had the phones, right? Like we call when we have time, and so.
I honestly hate phones. I have one. It's a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite for saying that, but I hate it so much.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the biggest distraction in our generation, and not even that. It's just it kind of drains you as a person, to be honest, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't. When I worked in the restaurant industry, cell phones were still new. We didn't have smartphones yet.
Yeah.
We had, like the flip phones, and I don't even know if we were really texting. Maybe it was the beginning, but I couldn't imagine trying to deal with it now. Like every single person had it. Like I remember, if somebody wanted to call us, they had to call the restaurant. Yeah. And then maybe we could go take a break and like find out what the emergency is that somebody had to call me while.
Nowadays it's just. Everyone has like those touch screens phone now, it's so easy to access them. Even with like AirPods, like someone can have long hair and just like sneakily hide them in their ear and like listening music while they're working, and then customers just like kind of looking, oh, is that like an AirPod?
Yeah.
Those are the conversations I had to have with some of the employees, and like, hey, you can't be wearing AirPods at work, especially when you're like talking to guests, because it seems like you're not really listening to them. And, I mean, to be honest, customers want to be heard. Like you said, you got to be friendly, kill them with kindness. They're there for a good experience as well, and just
they're the reason why you have a job.
Have a job in business, and. I guess some of them are just like, type of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about it too. I need to come up with some kind of contract if I want to hire somebody. Mm-hmm. And that should be in it. Like what's expected. Like, we expect you to not be on your phone during your shift. Yeah. Like when you're on your breaks, do whatever you want, Exactly. Especially if you have a break every 2 hours. Like that's not too long to wait to go on and check your emails. See who liked on your
we have a guy who just plays on his phone every time guest walks in and like he takes orders. I'm like, if you're really that desperate to use your phone, like by all means, like go somewhere else where guest is not walking up to our counter and trying to talk to us about food and ordering. Like if you're really in need to play a video game, just don't do that right like in front of the customers, please. Yeah. Just go on the side. Yeah. And it's just so hard to get that stuck to his mind sometimes. It's till this day I still see that guys doing that same thing, and I'm just like
have you asked him about it? Like, hey, what do you think the customer thinks of you when you're doing this?
That's where it comes to like a friend because he's my best friend's brother, and that's where I'm just like trying to find the right boundaries. And I have asked him that, and he just kind of like gave me that smirk and like not smirk but like threw me off in a way, like the attitude and threw me off. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm not here to babysit, and you know, I'm not gonna take it so personal, but I'm just like, I'll do my best to, you know, be a better example too.
Yeah. That is the hard part with hiring people that you know.
Yeah.
Or friends. It is. I feel like it is a lot easier when you hire somebody
That
you don't know, and
yeah.
you can just kind of keep the relationship kind of business.
Exactly.
And then I feel like it works out better. I mean, like, because yeah.
So do you suggest other entrepreneurs and management to hire within just, you know, people that you're not really that familiar with? Or is there
not
like
necessarily
some type of, like,
because you don't want to limit yourself. Like maybe somebody will end up being a really good worker. Because that's the other thing is like sometimes things balance out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I've had some people that maybe don't have good customer service, but they can like bust ass and like make things happen fast and like get people motivated, you know, and you try to like make sure that the things that they do that aren't so great don't, you know, outweigh the good. But you know, you can only do so much though. Like you don't want people to be on their phone the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes you do have to put your foot down, and that's like the hard move.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be like, look,
I guess
you didn't listen. Like you're not going to listen. We can't have you stay here unless you want to change. If you don't want to change, then I guess you have to find a place that'll allow you to sit on your phone during the customers being here.
Yeah. Can't imagine what job allows someone just be on their phone and just talk to customers.
Yeah.
I guess like if you're doing like a FaceTime customer service type of thing, I guess that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Sorry, what I was trying to say was, so beginning of opening our restaurant, the Seattle location, we had to hire a lot of my friends because we didn't have enough staff. So it was hard already to find staff. So we were like, okay, Augie, do you know anyone? I was like, okay, I guess I'll just, you know, text a couple people. And I just found out I have like several friends looking for a job. And this was during like COVID times too. I'm just like, I was like, I guess this is how we're going to run it. It's a lot of my friends and a lot of my friends and just a couple random employees, and we'll run the restaurant.
Yeah.
It turned out, honestly, it wasn't that terrible. Like you said, it was just like really staying stern and having that balance of conversation with your friends and just explaining why and stuff like that. And then telling them it's not that personal.
I actually, you know, this summer I had a friend that was working and things weren't working out. Mm-hmm. And he basically ended up splitting and leaving. And unfortunately, it was a time when we really needed help, but it just wasn't working out. And he split. And he's a close friend of mine. And, you know, he like just texted me the other day, just like to apologize for that. And we kind of, we, you know, the friendship is more important than the work.
Right.
The work, it wasn't working, but it, you know, you still want to, you know, keep those relationships.
I mean, as long as like, you know, it wasn't taken personal, you know, friendships rebounds. That's perfect. You know, it worked out.
Yeah.
Do you, so I guess getting off the topic about employees, have you ever thought about expanding where a point where like you don't have to be on site?
Yeah, that is the goal. I just need to sit down and kind of write out a plan for that. And, you know, to do that, you know, I will probably have to take a pay cut to you know, put the time into expand and keep somebody else busy. Right. Because that's the thing. Like, if you want to keep these employees, you need to keep them happy, and you can't keep them happy if they're trying to, you know, make ends meet on 20 hours a week. So I would have to basically give my work to them and then try to build it up from there.
I remember you mentioning that idea to me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would that be like buying a truck and putting your logo on it and then having like, Justin's Landscaping t-shirts, having like a crew and a management along with them as well?
Yeah.
All right, we back. Since our camera cut off, we just took a break. I'm sorry. That was like probably 40 minutes worth of content and it just cut off. Sorry about that, guys. We'll figure it out eventually. Yeah. But before the camera was cutting off, me and Justin were discussing about the future, and I guess I was asking like, is your plan to have like the Justin landscape t-shirts and the logo on the truck, and having like a management and just managing the guys as well while you're taking a step back and just managing the business behind?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the ideal like goal there?
Well, like the end goal is having like an exit strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to build the business up to where I can eventually sell it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could try to ride it out to the end, but I've had other ideas, just from running this business, I've had other things that I've wanted to kind of get into. So I guess just getting the business to a point where I can kind of hand it over to somebody, which I've also thought about changing the name so that it's not my name
Right.
as part of it, but that could also still work for somebody else,
Yeah.
if they wanted.
I mean, like, there's a lot of like names out there that people still use that they're not their name anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any business, like other business ventures that you plan to have or that you're doing right now?
Well, one thing that my partner is an automotive teacher, and I know we've thought about different things with cars, or like renting vans, that are built out for camping, because that's kind of a popular thing.
Yeah.
And it's fun to build them.
Yeah.
And also, we've also thought about some smaller restaurant type stuff. Like my partner and I are both vegan, and there's like a limited number of vegan restaurants. A lot of them closed through COVID and everything also. So there's kind of a market for it, And like, we don't have a lot of that up here in Seattle, but down in Portland, it's huge. Like there's like a ton of different vegan restaurants. So that's one thing that I've been kind of interested in. But like it's super busy.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to work 80 hours a week.
Yeah, right.
But
and also like managing like people.
Yeah. I'd like to set it up to have somebody else kind of
Right.
run it and everything and be part of it, and just make a place that I want to go to.
Yeah.
And one of the things I thought about is like, have you heard of those ghost kitchens? I don't know if we have any up here. But
is it like those pop-up kitchens?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
like a pop-up. I don't exactly know what the pop-up really means, but in West Seattle, there's one, and it's at the commissary, which is like a kitchen that like a lot of different restaurants can use.
Yeah.
And anyway, so there's a bunch of different little restaurants in the commissary.
Gotcha.
That there's no dining in. It's all like call in or whatever.
Yeah.
But I figured that would be kind of an inexpensive way to test out a menu and see what the demand is for it. And then from there, then maybe do the brick and mortar or something.
How about like a food truck?
I've thought about food truck, and I've actually worked on a food truck before. And it's kind of hard.
It's hard.
And it's
My
hot.
brother wanted to do that too.
That's
It's cool, and like it's great to like work on one, because at least when I was on one, you make good tips.
Yeah.
Like you're catering weddings and stuff, and people are having a good time and drinking, and they just are like
just ordering a bunch of
they're
food.
being very very nice,
Generous.
generous. Yeah.
What
But,
about like a small, kitchen with like no actual service, but like, you know, we'll take your order, but here you go, like to go.
That's what I'm talking about with the ghost kitchen. Is kind of like that. Like you can order online and then you just go there to pick it up. Like when you walk inside, there's like a little seating area,
right?
And there's like you see like 6 different menus, you know, because there's like multiple kitchens in there.
I've been in one.
Yeah, and like you can press the button. It's like ringing the doorbell to get somebody's to get attention or whatever. But yeah, thought about that.
What type of what type of flavor are you trying to aim to sell?
See, that's where it gets tricky. I want something different because I'm tired of, like, you know, hamburgers, pizza. You know what I mean? Like, I want something that's like different,
like unique.
I also want it kind of limited. I don't want to have like a big menu. You know, you have to be able to make some money. So yeah, I don't have no idea yet, but
I feel like a small but like delicious menu will sell. Like if you have too many options, it'll be hard for like people to, especially for the cooks too. You know, they would have to cook all that, and with all the ingredients will be expensive as well.
Yeah. If you have like a limit of like 10 things or something, maybe a couple sides and some drinks or like 1 or 2 desserts or something like that. Something simple where somebody could actually go there and like try everything, you know, like they went to your place 10 times and they tried everything.
Come back to try the next thing. Yeah. What was it gonna say? Sorry. So you said you went to a bunch of the restaurants down in Portland, right? Or Oregon. What was hitting for them over there? Like which like tastes for them?
I like it. Well, like being vegan, it kind of limits a lot of stuff, you know. But like you go down there, there's a taco place that's all vegan. And so like, you know, like I wasn't vegan my whole life, and so like being able to go to a restaurant that has like tacos and Mexican food and it just happens to be all vegan is awesome. I want to try everything on the menu, you know. Like, and whenever we go down there, and there was a place that had vegan dim sum, they had one up in Vancouver, which is really interesting because like all the things that they make, you know, like it's not, you know what I mean? Like when I said like I don't want to do like pizza and burgers, that's the typical vegan stuff that you get when you go somewhere, you know what I mean? And it just gets kind of old, at least for me. I like to try new stuff, and I used to work in restaurants and was really into that, so trying like new stuff. And you know,
what in the restaurant industry, what were you doing? Were you like a cook or a front of house?
Mostly a cook. Yeah,
there you go, you got your experience.
I mean, I can cook, and Carmen can cook also, and we cook. We make a lot of stuff, and we, you know,
Thomas actually told me a lot of the food, and then the recipe that you gave him as well was really good.
Oh yeah. Which recipe was it?
I think it was the one that we got the free turkey from the Safeway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was like a couple Thanksgivings ago.
Yeah, like we actually take pictures of all the meals, like if it looks good, so that you can just kind of go on your phone and the search photos, you know, just type food and kind of look back like, oh yeah, that's kind of where we want to like look back at the pictures and kind of see what made sense, you know, like what's not too hard, but like was like really good.
I actually tried a vegan Chinese restaurant that's in Seattle. It's by the Space Needle, I want to say. Oh, really? Yeah, the fish was like not fish, but it tasted like fish. It was really good. I forgot what it was called though. That was the problem. But like, I ate it and I was like, I asked like my family, like I was like, "What is this?" Like, is this because it, like they made the fish shaped into an actual like looking fish, and it was interesting. It was really good.
Yeah.
But like I was confused because I know like it didn't actually taste like fish, but it was good still.
Yeah.
And then I just realized that I was eating in a vegan restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a sushi restaurant up on Queen Anne that's all vegan.
Vegan as well.
And they weren't before.
Yeah.
But they changed.
Interesting.
But there's also a place that has some like interesting stuff is a Chuman Tofu. It's on 12th and Jackson. It's kind of a hectic area. There's a lot of wild stuff going on. But the two ladies that own it are super sweet. And they have like 6 different types of vegan banh mi's. And they have like a buffet with all kinds of stuff. Like interesting things to try. I suggest like anybody try it even if they're not vegan. I think it's still pretty tasty.
Yeah.
And they actually I like that restaurant too. They actually give back to the community a lot too. Like I feel like that's kind of what's helped their business stay afloat through COVID and everything.
The community.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part, to be honest, with
like
owning.
I think they have like a day like on Sunday or something where they close for 2 hours and just feed the homeless.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
so they
pretty
actually
big.
take like a cut and they take donations and stuff, but like I like that idea of like
that's a business that you should support, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's another good way to kind of get the word out.
Yeah.
You know, like if you guys were trying to spread the word on podcasts or something, like doing some kind of I don't know, community service type thing to kind of like spread the word. I mean, it's like at least it doesn't cost money. It's just like your time.
Yeah.
And it's also a positive thing, like putting something back into the world like that.
It's just, it's a feeling of reward.
Yeah.
Nothing much is reward.
Yeah.
I like the feeling of reward, to be honest.
No.
Yeah.
But it's well deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow. So you got another idea of the food industry.
Yeah.
And you said the camping thing. What do you mind explaining a little bit more about that? I'm kind of curious about that one.
Well, there's a few places that already do it, but like there's camping like rigs or vehicles have gotten kind of popular that are kind of outfitted for sleeping, barbecuing.
Yeah.
Some have 4-wheel drive. They can go in the snow or whatever. And, you know, people taking like an ordinary van and then building it into something that you can rent for the week or weekend and travel and go to
have
some
a
state
getaway.
parks.
Yeah.
It's comfortable inside. Maybe you can cook in there and have a refrigerator or ice box or whatever.
I've been seeing a lot of those actually on TikTok or something because it's like an extension. Like the vehicle can like basically extend into like a tent or something like that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They set it up and then they can like cook inside or something. I don't remember, but like they can cook inside, they have somewhere to sleep, and then places to put stuff and like that.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, to be honest. A lot of people got into camping recently, and my family's pretty huge on camping too nowadays. So yeah,
Time of year for it.
yeah. And then Washington has a lot of great places to camp at.
Yeah.
Like no doubt. So that's a great business venture.
Yeah, we were just out at Crescent Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and we have an old van, and we've kind of converted it to a camper. And,
Oh nice.
Last weekend.
yeah, and it's a classic. It's a 1973
Yeah.
G20, and like people are always coming by, like, "Oh, I like your van."
Yeah,
you
checking
know.
it out. Yeah.
Thought, I don't know, that might be an interesting idea. Is
Yeah.
get like classic
Classic
vans, but get them like so they're
Camping.
running well and
Yeah.
everything.
I
And
even
outfitted.
drove it for the first time yesterday.
Yeah, Thomas drove it, the 73.
How was the drive?
It felt different than the truck for sure.
Yeah.
It felt like kind of.
Felt like a 51-year-old vehicle.
It was kind of slow too. The acceleration was slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny because I've been seeing a lot of people using sprinters nowadays for camping, and because I'm a little confused with sprinters now. Like I've thought they're like, and like I feel like there's like multiple uses of a sprinter. Like they're camping and they're just like
multi-purpose.
Yeah, like for driving, and people use it as like a limo now.
Yeah,
and people use it for work, like Amazon, for example, and stuff like that. So it's like there's just a lot of things a sprinter could be now. Sprinters
are cool because I mean the shape of them and the ceiling is really high, so you can walk around in it. The all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive ones are expensive. That's the only issue. I think you can get the two-wheel drive ones affordable, but if you want to get like a four-wheel drive sprinter van that people turn into a camper, you're gonna start out at like $100,000.
Oh god.
So it's and like the ones that are built out are like $150,000.
Yeah.
So I was like,
what cars were you two aiming for to build a camp? Or looking into
things that are more affordable, like the older vans, or even like the Astro vans. Like we also have a Astro, or it's a GMC Safari, which is the same thing. And ours is, we lifted it and put a new transfer case and everything, so it's like true four-wheel drive. We're thinking about putting a bubble top on it so that you can stand up in it and everything.
Oh.
But, yeah.
So which, out of those two right now, which one are you leaning to the most?
Maybe the older van.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But at the same time, the older van might have its own problems, so the newer one might make more sense. I don't know. We'd have to.
Have you ever tried like testing it, like renting out the older van?
You mean like renting from another place, or
renting out your own like personal van?
We haven't yet. I believe there are some websites that do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were in, I think it was Maui one year, we actually rented a Sprinter van from some people that do it, like a cop and his wife have like a couple of Sprinter vans.
Yeah.
And so like we went to their house and rented one of them for the week, and it was cool.
Yeah, I think you have the opportunity to do so. I would suggest test out the market and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Since everyone's already complimenting the van that you guys have, and I feel like that'll be a great experience to see where that one goes. At least that one that you have going right now.
Yeah. We've thought about it. We need to get it a little bit more up to speed.
Oh, okay.
So that it's rentable without any issues.
Gotcha.
But and then we have to figure out the insurance and everything, because that was one thing.
Oh yeah, that's a big part.
When we were in Maui, one of the vans that they were renting came back with like part of the rear roof was like caved in.
Oh gosh.
Because they probably drove out to Hana, which has these really narrow roads where like the cliffs sometimes stick out.
Yo.
And so I could see somebody easily that's never driven like a big vehicle or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this will be great. We're gonna take the family out on the road to Hana, and then like
off topic, but what is up with Hawaii having like all the big vehicles like the Jeeps and stuff like that? It's
they got their own style.
It's kind of so funny because they're a small island, but they have a bunch of like big vehicles like Jeeps and stuff like that.
The Jeeps, I always thought, because like depending on where you're at, some places you'll go and you'll see like trucks. Like we were actually just in Kauai.
Yeah.
On around Christmas, and there's a lot of vehicles like Toyota trucks that are lifted like a foot or more.
Jeez.
And some of them still have like normal sized wheels.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking maybe it's for when like they have some crazy tropical storms and it's like flooded. They can still drive through areas that get flooded.
Yeah, that's fair.
But but the vans, like I know that people rent them. I mean, there's like limited places that you can take them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You can't just go park anywhere in the van and stay overnight. You know, you have to go to a campground, and there's only a certain number of campgrounds. We were lucky when we were on Maui because we have friends that live in different places, so we can take the van, and then it's kind of like having our own room at their house.
That's fair.
I mean? And also, it's also the vehicle, so kind of like when you look at how much you're going to spend for, like a hotel down there is like $500 a night. So, and then the car is going to be however much a day. If you combine that and it's only $300, and you're like, oh, it's not too bad as long as we have a place to park it.
When I went to Hawaii, we got a Jeep.
Yeah.
And it was just like the Wrangler and stuff, and it's just the whole time we were riding, it smelled like the sea. It was gross.
Yeah.
I was like, they did not clean this at all.
Yeah.
And then when we went to Hawaii again, we just got like 2 vans. I'm just like, are we just getting big cars every time we come in Hawaii?
Maybe there was a deal on it or something.
Probably.
All the smaller ones were rented.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you so much for coming in to have the discussion, Justin.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and hopefully you got something out of this podcast. And please stay tuned for future videos. Please like, subscribe, and share with your family, your dogs, your cats. And we out.